how many dates? So, okay, how long did you keep this up? And during that amount of time, how many dates did you go on from Tinder?
So, for in one full year, I went on dates.
Holy cow. Austin, wonderful to have you here on the Black Box Dating Podcast. Met you at a local event here in the Denver area, and at first you seemed to be like lots of other guys that were at the networking event, and then I found out something very, very special about you. You ranked, I'm not going to say how high because I'm not sure exactly what it was, but you ranked way up there on your Tinder profile back in 2022.
Yeah, I made it go viral.
You made it go viral. Okay. All right. So we want to jump into that. Before we do, let's just tell guys who you are. Are you some crazy, like media mogul? Are you some, some power hitter with a yacht or whatever? Like who is Austin today before we jump into what Austin did on
I'd like to be the guy with the yacht. Yes, that would be amazing
Tinder?
because who doesn't want to own a yacht? No. So today, I'm just a boring old insurance salesman who does like employee benefits. So, but to give context, I did run a social media marketing agency for 11 years. I've been on the cutting edge of social media for many of those years. I've created viral content on just about every platform, even some that don't exist today. And so I've always understood marketing and social media. So I took those skill sets and leveraged it to my Tinder profile, which I'm sure we're going to get all into.
You sneaky bastard.
Well, yeah, but the thing at the end of the day, all these social media profiles, it's sales, right? You are selling yourself, and so you have to put yourself in the best light. So I went, okay, what do I have that somebody would be interested in? Kind of created that and put it out there, and used my skill sets to make it a little bit different because I hated swiping. It sucks.
Gotcha. So just to be clear, you are essentially putting dating apps in the same bucket as just general social media. Is that correct?
100%.
Can you explain to us? Can you explain to all the guys out there listening why that is? Because I think most of us, we emotionally connect with the dating apps differently than we do, say, Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. How help a guy shift his mindset to see that dating apps are actually just like any other form of social media?
Okay, so if we look at all the other forms of social media, right? We all know these social medias have an algorithm that pushes certain content to us. And to simplify this down, if you think about your average daily life as like a standard bell curve, the far majority of your days are in that dead center. You wake up, you eat your food, you go to work, you go to bed, nothing exciting happens. Well, if you think about content that performs well on social media, that middle of the road where nothing happens, nobody cares about and nobody's going to engage with. But at
Right.
the far end of the spectrum, the very best days of your life and the very worst days of your life are the things people are going to engage with. Oh my God, I just got married. I had a kid, blah, blah, blah. Or, oh my God, somebody died or this terrible thing happened.
Yeah.
People are going to
Hmm.
engage with that. And
Hmm.
so the algorithms take those aspects and they promote it because there's a lot of engagement. Well,
Hmm.
Tinder kind of works the same way. If you look at all the profiles on Tinder, there's a standard bell curve. If you're falling within that standard bell curve, you're not going to get engagement. So what you have to do is kind of pick either end of the spectrum and then shoot it up to the top, and then you're going to get engagement. Does that make sense?
It does. But how? I mean, how? Like, do you have to go around killing people? Do you have to go around marrying people? I mean, what do you do exactly to break out of that bell curve? Because I mean, that's the thing is every guy knows if you stand out, if you're the guy that walks into the room and you've got the charisma, you've got the confidence, or you show up with the biggest yacht, in the marina, like you're gonna get attention. Like
Absolutely.
every guy kind of knows that. How do you do that on on a dating platform, on a profile where everybody feels like they're flattened out and kind of turned into the same swipe right, swipe left in just an instant?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So we're going to break this down into different parts. I think one of the first things that is most guys need to recognize is you actually got to do a little bit of research, right? Go on to something like r/Tinder, which is where I promoted my profile when I made it, and start seeing what is out there, seeing what most guys do, seeing the feedback that people get. One of the things that you're going to notice is most guys have really terrible photos, right?
Right,
We are not photogenic because we just don't care. We're like, why are we going to
right,
stop and take pictures of ourselves doing
yeah,
things,
yeah,
right? But if you're trying to sell yourself, like if I'm trying to sell a burger, right?
yeah,
I'm going to take a delicious looking photo of that burger when I put it
yeah.
on my menu.
Hmm.
We are a freaking burger for the general masses. So you got to take some photos that showcase you in a good light, right? And
Hmm.
there's standard things there like, and here's my recommendation. Go work with a professional photographer.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
good at that.
Hmm.
And it's fun. Like it's fun to go around and be like, "Cool, I'm going to go get photos for my Tinder." And it's a little investment in yourself, but who cares? Because you're trying to find the love of your life or whatever you're trying to find. No judgment here.
Yeah, yeah. There's a wide
There's
variety. Yeah.
wide variety, no judgment, right? That being said, though, if you, I'm assuming you're probably going to share my profile here. What
Hmm.
I did is I looked at, okay, what do I understand? I understand direct sales copywriting, which is basically the standard when it comes to how to sell something. And what that is you got to tell a story, right? And so the story that I came up with was Tinder's 2022 deal of the year, right?
Okay.
Which
Wait. Hang on. This is literally okay. Wait, I got to go back up for a second. So you made your profile and then you promoted your Tinder profile on Reddit. You
yes,
promoted it outside of that. So that honestly has never even occurred to me. I mean, a lot of times we actually don't even tell people we're on the dating apps or when we're activated or not. You took it a step further and actually promoted it sort of like a social media campaign to your own profile.
yes.
Okay. And then you gave it a label, which was what again?
Uh Tinder's best deal of the year, 2022 best deal of the year.
Okay, which is immediately going to put a smile on a woman's face, make her laugh, make her go, okay, because half the women, three quarters of the women are on there for like personal entertainment,
Oh,
and
100.
they're not on there for necessarily the same like goal driven reasons that a lot of the guys are on there. So when you show up with, Tinder's 2022 deal of the year, immediately they're like, you've put them into a happy place. You're entertaining them, and they're intrigued, right? Like they're gonna want to click on that. They're not gonna swipe left just out of pure fun. Is that kind of part of the maniacal strategy that you came up with?
100%. Because it, again, you got to do your research. If you look at any woman's profile, they're on for 24 hours and they are going to have 1,000 likes.
Right.
And they are bombarded with way too much in front of them. So their challenge is, all right, there's a million of the same. I need to pick out the quality, right?
Right.
Whereas most guys are like, holy crap, I gotta like today's a good day, right? You're starving,
Yeah.
you're thirsty, you're like, I just
Yeah.
need something. So you're
Yeah.
clinging on to hope.
And,
So
and to
my
be
goal, yeah.
And to be clear, when you say pick out, you're not talking about a woman carefully, like, oh, this one's good, this one's bad. I mean, we're talking like there's a big old like rough cut happening, right? With guys, I mean, this isn't a careful process for a woman. She is shoving the majority off the plate right away.
100%. I mean, I've seen the videos of girls just being like, no, 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 no. All right, no,
Yep.
no, 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 no. Right. And it's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing, like instantaneous. So your first impression has to grab people. And so that's what that was. Like, it's a photo of me in a suit, smiling, big smile because I'm having a great time, and a big old banner where they read it and it makes them stop. And that
Okay.
is the
So
most important thing.
so there's a banner in the photo that says Tinder's. Wow.
Tinder's
Okay.
deal of the year, right?
Gotcha.
And all of this is going to tie in together because Tinder has an algorithm. So therefore, getting people to stop and spend some time on my profile is part of that algorithm. So you have to
Mm,
understand how these things work. So I leveraged everything to kind of work together, right? So I created a campaign. It's basically like a slide share. I put it all together in Canva, so you don't need a lot of skills. And
right.
I basically sold myself, right?
Hmm.
So I looked at it and I went, okay, what do I need to do? I need to tell a story of why somebody needs to swipe right on me, right? So in direct sales copywriting, there's something called features, there's something called benefits, right? What are
Right.
features and
Right.
benefits? Features are things, right? Um, I understand the world of Tinder. I'm going to use my advantages that I have, right? I'm 6'2", right? Every
Yeah.
person has to be over 6 foot to qualify, which is not actually true, but it is something that people believe,
Yeah.
right? You got to understand the baseline of what you're competing against. Like, I have a job, right? There's a lot of people on Tinder
Right.
don't even have a job, a career, anything.
And a
Uh,
lot of guys assume that people just know that a woman's going to know that they have these certain criteria, but you're highlighting them. You're putting them right out there to make sure that all the features are visible to the women that are looking at it.
yep. I was like, I'm handsome, I'm confident, has a cute job, or has a cute dog, right? And then I put one thing on there to create controversy and
Hmm.
to kind of start weeding out certain people too. And I said, won't kill you, because that is a legitimate fear women have. Now, it creates controversy because, oh my God, how can you even mention this, right? But the other part behind it is one, I'm not actually going to kill anyone because that's not who I am. But two, if you can't even laugh at a little bit of gallows humor, you're not going to be right for me, right?
Right. Yeah.
I have
Well,
a very distinct personality, so I'm going to put a little bit of it out there, right? The other aspect is I knew it was going to create controversy, which means people are going to talk about it, which means people are going to engage with it, and that the
gotcha.
cycle
Yeah.
continues.
I think a lot of guys fall into the trap of trying to be completely 100% agreeable because they want to have as many options as possible. They want as many women to swipe right. But what you're actually saying is that engagement actually goes up when that you're not 100% agreeable.
Yep.
When there's some, yeah,
So think about this. Every guy remembers getting a magnifying glass, being out on a sunny day, and burning their name into a piece of wood,
right,
right?
right, right,
Or
yeah,
burning ants, depending on how masochistic you are.
right,
Well, it's the same thing, right? You got a sunbeam here. Your job is actually to focus that down to create a laser point of exactly what you're looking for. If you try and be
yeah,
too wide, no. So, for all my homies out there who are big old geeks like me,
yeah,
showcase that. Like, if you like cosplaying and going out on playing Dungeons and Dragons and being a dork, showcase that. There are so many geeky girls out there who are
yeah,
absolutely going to love that. If you're a guy who loves to go to the gym and work out and do that, like showcase that. Like
yeah,
if that is your personality, that's cool. Like there's somebody out there for everyone. There's more than one. Trust me. There's a
mm-hmm,
lot out there. It's just you have to sell the positive qualities about yourself, right?
mm-hmm,
And I think you and I can both agree. I am not the most handsome man in the world. I'm not freaking Timothy Chalamet or Brad Pitt, or I'm pretty
mm-hmm,
average looking. So maybe a little bit better than average. I'm gonna give myself that. But I'm gonna use the fact that I have a fun personality and I'm gonna
right.
showcase that to sell myself so that way people pay attention. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So okay, so let's ask because we never really actually did this. So okay, top deal on Tinder for 2022. So how far did this viral effect go? Like give us some perspective. How I mean, is there a ranking? How far did this go?
Sure. So I posted it on r/Tinder, right? And it got something like 20,000 upvotes, 2,000 comments. I had people in my DMs. I had a person from Newsweek reach out to me and then created an entire article about it. And so if you type
Nice.
in my name Newsweek, it will pop up. And
Mhm.
yeah, so the other part of like the whole ranking thing behind this is I knew that was going to create controversy on that subreddit. I knew I was going to get engagement. And I
Mhm.
also fueled that engagement, right? After I posted it, I went, okay, I'm going to respond to every single comment, right? And
Mhm.
this is the thing, the
Oh,
more
jeez.
engagement, yep,
Yourself, you didn't like. There was no AI bot to just jump in and do this for you. You were. That's a
it took me
serious
an
commitment.
entire day of responding to comments because it kept
Wow.
growing and growing and growing. But the other part too is I eventually had people being like, oh my God, where is this profile? And I shared
Yeah.
that link to my profile. Now, think about from an algorithm standpoint, you have a profile that is getting attention from some other medium, which
Oh
promotes
wow.
it even higher.
Oh wow. I mean, because that is. I mean, almost no pro. I didn't. First of all, I didn't even know you could make your Tinder profile like a linkable that you could do this with. But you're saying that, yeah. I mean, Tinder. I mean, nobody does that. So there's no external traffic coming to Tinder site. And if suddenly there are hundreds or thousands of visits to your profile from an external, suddenly, yeah, you're going to appear to the algorithm like a superstar. And what do they want to do with a superstar? They like lift them up, give them even more of the spotlight. Okay, so again, okay, so viral on there. How, what was your response rate? I mean, because like guys, it's like, were you getting like bombarded with messages? Like what happened then on Tinder itself?
Yeah. So, two things. One, recognizing that this was going to happen and also recognizing Tinder is a business. I upgraded myself to the platinum status. So I put
Right.
money behind it because
Yeah.
I don't want any barriers between me and success if it's, what was it, like $30?
Mm-hmm.
In that, here's the other part too. I understand the Tinder algorithm, the ELO algorithm, which is basically to simplify down the same thing you have in any competitive video game. When you're playing Call of Duty and you're absolutely rocking and you're doing really well, they're going to match you against people who are also of that skill level.
Right.
Whereas when
Yeah.
I go to play Call of Duty, I'm freaking terrible. They're going to put me at the bottom of the list and I'm going to play with all the other people who are terrible. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing in Tinder, right? The hot people get promoted to the top because they're getting all the action, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same thing in that capacity. So here's what I did. One of the worst things you can do for your algorithm is only swipe right. Like I'll take everything and then weed out the rest
Uh-huh.
because
Uh-huh.
that's just going to kill you, right? So I was actually specific. I slowed down and I swiped on who I thought I found attractive or interesting, right?
Gotcha.
Two, when I had matches, I made sure to respond to every single one of those matches because now my profile is getting more engagement. And I made sure
Okay.
to have some of those conversations back and forth to the point where I became really precise in my strategies on how I messaged, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about in a little bit
Uh-huh.
here.
Oh, yeah.
But I made sure I had those messages. If I didn't like somebody, I would remove their profile. Like I was specific. So I took the same mentality women have with us, which is I'm not searching for anything. I'm searching for exactly what I want, and I'm weeding out those that don't match. Right?
So being
And
so just to bring it in, so being selective on the apps as a guy actually increases your value in the view of the algorithm. Is that correct?
correct.
Okay. Okay. Good,
Right?
good point, guys. Don't just swipe right on every single girl, hoping that that's somehow going to open more options. It actually is going to limit you because you're not being as selective a candidate.
Yep. Because
Okay.
here's the thing. Think about this. You get some matches with some people you don't like. You don't find attractive because that is what Tinder is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
You've just matched, but nothing happens. What does that tell the
Right.
algorithm? It tells the
Yeah.
algorithm something's off here. But if you're
Right.
matching, you're engaging and you're having
Uh-huh.
conversations and conversation
Yeah.
is going back and forth and
Yeah.
saying, hey, this is what we're looking for. So it's going to
Right.
promote more of that.
Because the whole business is based on engagement. So if you're matching and then it falls flat, nobody says anything. I mean, this is oftentimes on Bumble what happens is everybody matches and then a lot of times the women don't really reach out, or they reach out with hey, and then the conversations just kind of fall flat. They don't do anything, so you don't get the high quality engagement that leads to the hours and eyeballs on the app the way that Tinder, the business, actually wants it. That makes a ton of sense. That makes a ton of sense.
And speaking of those conversations, like the opening with the like, guys, here's one of the best things I can give you. Don't do the haze,
Yeah.
but also don't do the very sexual start of the conversation.
Oh God. Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many guys shoot themselves in the foot with like your first message or within your first 10 messages being something of let's have sex or some capacity of that,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you, every single girl wants to have sex too. And if you don't push it, they
Yeah.
will make it happen. They're very
Mm-hmm.
good at it. You just
Mm-hmm.
have to pick
Mm-hmm.
up the signs.
Yeah.
So, my number one opening, which every guy here can steal, is how do you take your coffee? It is such a
Nice.
simple line that gets a response because
Mm-hmm.
it's not sexual.
Yeah.
They get to talk about something they understand. It
Mm-hmm.
opens up a conversation. And that is what your opening line is, right?
Can I add to that? I think another thing that really does is it paints a concrete picture in their mind of something simple and something somewhat intimate. How do you take your coffee? It could be on that first date, but it's also, well, if we're in the same place the morning after we've been together, how do you take your coffee? There's an intimate side to that as well, but it's so simple. But it has this aspect of warmth, this aspect of caring, this aspect of intimacy without being sexual. That is brilliant. That is really brilliant.
Right? And I don't have to say, oh, I'll remember it for the next morning. Ha ha ha. You don't have to do that,
Yeah.
right? So, what would normally happen is they would tell me and they would go, how do you take yours? And what
Right.
I'm doing here is I go, okay, can I make this person laugh? This is my
Yeah.
next thing. It's qualifying out. So, my response was always black like my soul, because clearly, if you meet me, that is not
Yeah.
who I am.
Right.
And if they laugh and we have some of that textual chemistry,
Yeah.
I went, great. This is what I'm looking for as the first step. And
Mm-hmm.
what I will tell every guy here is all the messages, everything that I do comes from a sales focus, right? Everything in this stupid game of Tinder is sales. And you have to have your scripts in sales. You have to know what they are, you have to know what your close is, and you have to have consistency, right? To track your results. So I would always start with like that stupid line of how do you take your coffee? I'd make those jokes. And within 24 hours, I would be inviting them out to a first date. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
first date was real simple. It was either at a coffee shop, which was 5 minutes from my house, or to a place called One Up Arcade, which you could do some skee ball and you can get some drinks, right? And I would always do it for a happy hour time.
Yeah.
It was one of those two things. And the thing is, both of these places are very close to my house. I wouldn't ask them where they live. I wasn't going to travel to them. They were going to travel to me to this thing. Because here's the
Okay.
other thing, I don't want to ask them where they live. They might get creeped out because they have to worry about that. Here are
Mm-hmm.
two locations, coffee or, One Up Arcade. And it was basically, I would make that decision based off of how we matched. If
Mm.
we're matching and their profile says things like short term open to long or short term fun, great. Let's go get a drink and let's go enjoy the short term, right?
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for a relationship, if they're looking for more of that courtship,
Yeah.
great. Let's get a cup of coffee, right?
Right. Yeah.
Here's the other aspect. Both of these dates cost me $15 at most, right? A couple
Mm-hmm.
of coffees. Let's see if we vibe, because that's my thing. If I don't like you, we don't like each other, that's totally fine. It was nice meeting you. 30 minutes of our time, I'm on my way, right?
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing with the alcohol. A couple of drinks during happy hour, maybe $10, $5 in arcade tokens. Let's go play some skee ball. Let's
Yeah.
joke around, and then I'm gonna
Yeah.
know right then and there where this is going. Does
Right.
that make
Yeah.
sense?
Absolutely. So you're really yeah. So, and again, to come back to the point that you're saying, you have a process that you're going through. A lot of and I feel that there's a balance to be struck between scripted and prepared and having your pattern, having your process, but then also you have to have a certain authenticity in the
100%.
process of doing that in order for the connection to happen. I think some guys maybe lean on that script. They think there are some magic words that they do. And I think you've got a great opener there, a great line. So did you use that line 100% of the time, or did you step off script sometimes, depending
Oh,
on
yeah.
what you? Yeah.
I would step off script a lot of times, right? Like if
Hmm.
I match with somebody, I'm going to look at their profile and I'm going to see if there's something we can engage with. Like
Yeah.
one of my best and worst Tinder matches was somebody I had such great textual chemistry that when it came to the date became the worst date ever,
Yeah.
right? Um, in one of my because I updated my Tinder profile after that because I like doing it. And one of my newer ones I have I look good in a suit, right? Because that's part of my new
Hmm.
one. And this girl texts me and she says, "I bet you look good in a suit of armor." And I'm like,
Oh
"That's
wow.
interesting." And I look at her profile and she's into cosplay, she's into
Yeah.
fantasy and the nerdy type stuff.
Yeah. Hmm.
I am a huge old dork. So I went,
Yeah.
bet, let's have some fun with
Yeah.
this. And the
Yeah.
entire text conversation, I started talking
Yeah.
to her in like old English Shakespearean, like I was imagining I was a knight writing to a maiden in the
Right.
15th
Hmm.
century,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And she was engaging back with that, and we were having so much fun. So
Yeah.
you have to have that authenticity, but for the majority of the ones where there's nothing in the profile I can engage with, or I just don't have the energy, it was, hey, how do
Yeah.
you take your coffee? It's my
Yeah.
go-to. It's my
So
standard.
you have like a solid baseline that you start with, but you're
Hmm.
not completely leaning and relying on that baseline. You're again, that's your fallback. That's your hard deck, to give a Top Gun term. Like that's your hard deck. But above that, when there is a good when there's something extra, when there's something special, when there's something that you feel coming alive inside of yourself, you're going to lean into that and leave the script behind. Because the whole point of it is to get off the ground and to get rolling and to get having fun. And I just want to also mention that the fact that you also said with that one best and worst date that you had, um, that was the result of texting a whole lot before you met in person. And you said earlier that you had a more or less not a policy, but you would shoot for meeting the person within 24 hours. That I'm guessing is to specifically avoid that situation, over investing in chemistry online that did not translate into chemistry in person.
Yep, that's exactly it. Because I would have these long conversations with people via text, and I think it's going well, and then we would go to the date, and it would fizzle out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So, and then here's the other part too. There's more steps to that. There are times then where we would go to the date, and the date's good, and then we'd go and kiss, and there's no chemistry, right?
right.
And
Yeah,
then there are times where you kiss, and the kiss is good, and then we would go have sex, and the sex is
yeah,
just not there, right?
yep,
And
yeah,
all of those things are important, whether you're looking for a relationship or a one night stand. So for me, it was understanding what was important to me and, having a physical connection with my partner is
yeah,
important. So I had to
absolutely.
check all the things to get to that point before I went, okay, I'm going to invest more time into this. Now,
Yeah,
that's not to say that every girl was okay with that, and that's okay. You're not right for me because
yeah.
clearly this is not important, and I respect your decision making process. Cool,
Hmm.
right? So it's about weeding out those that are just not going to fit for the things that are important to you.
Which goes back to the being selective that the algorithm wanted you to do already, but
Hmm.
you're actually doing that authentically the entire time. Like you're getting attention, you're getting lots of, again, to extend the sales metaphor, you're getting lots of leads coming in, and you're vetting them to be whether or not you want to be selling to them, whether or not you want them as part of your clientele. That's brilliant, and it does take a certain amount of confidence for sure for a guy to be able to have that, I mean, abundance mindset about it.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. So how many dates? So okay, how long did you keep this up? And during that amount of time, how many dates did you go on from Tinder?
So for in one full year, I went on 150 dates.
Holy cow! Okay, so that's like every other day almost.
That was multiple dates a weekend, right? So I would start with a
Oh, you
coffee
were
date,
you were doubling. Okay, all right, yeah,
100%, right? I would start with a coffee date like, well, first off, Friday evening,
yeah.
like 5 o'clock was the one that I was like, I think I could probably want to sleep with this person. Like, I'm getting the vibes that this is what it is, right? Hey, I'm cool with that, right?
Yeah, no, no judgment, no judgment.
No
I'm just
judgment.
imagining you're already planning though the coffee date 9 a.m. the next morning, and if you spent the night with her, that runs into certain interesting, narrative dilemmas that you got to work out.
Who says they spent the night?
Okay, well, yeah, that's one way to avoid it. Is yeah, they're not staying the night.
Like Friday evening, there's a date. And I'm not saying every single time I'm successful. Like I
Of
fail,
course,
like
yeah,
anything else. But it's a numbers game and understand the context of where I'm coming from. I got out of an 11-year monogamous relationship.
okay,
So
yeah,
I was not looking to get back into a relationship.
yeah,
Um, and I was enjoying being single. And I'm very clear on that on my profiles of what I'm
yeah,
looking for, right? Now, if the right one comes along, which eventually she did, great. But this is where I'm at in my life, so this is what I'm doing. But then, yeah, a coffee at 9 a.m., right, at this coffee shop. Normally, a couple hours later, I would have another one there. So if it was going well, maybe I would set up a second date and go get coffee with the next person. If it was going very well, last minute cancellation. Hey, I got to go because I'm going back to my place.
yeah,
Whatever,
uh-huh,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
It, like this is life.
yeah,
It just is what it is. So,
yeah,
and then second dates and things like that. And there were some times where there was like breaks in between too, because it is exhausting, right? It was like a full
yeah.
time job, but I genuinely enjoyed meeting people, and I'm looking for a very specific type of person. So I knew I had to go through multiple dates to find that because I didn't want to settle.
So speaking of which, did this lead to finding the right person?
It did. Yeah.
It did.
So, and now I've had a 1 year relationship. We're moving in together. Like it
Okay.
is the culmination of what a lot of guys are looking for, but it didn't
Yeah.
start that way. Like I did not expect this to happen. This was literally a date where she made it abundantly clear she was here for one thing and one thing only, and it was very specific. And I went, cool. And
Uh-huh.
that turned into
And
consistency, which turned into a relationship. So,
yeah, once she got that one thing, she decided she wanted to keep that one thing. Yeah.
yeah, guys, repeat sales is the
Yeah.
best business you can have. So if you get an
Yep.
opportunity, focus on them. They will
Yeah.
come back.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So is are you still in that relationship now? Is that where you are
Yes.
now? Wow, that's amazing. That's awesome. So it is possible then. I mean, because there's this this image of Tinder of being just for hookups, and apparently that is kind of how this started. But but there is definitely the possibility if you know how to do your social media right, if you know how to sell yourself right, if you get your scripts right, and if you apparently like properly link to it from external sources and hack the algorithm of Tinder, you too can find true love on Tinder.
Sure, you do all those things. Here's the thing. If you I also you got to recognize guys, Tinder sucks. All the profiles, all of them suck. Go get real world experience. Like go join a cup in hand kickball league and hang out in a co-ed sport and make friends with people. I'm not saying to sleep with them. I'm saying to make friends with them because those girls have girlfriends who are single who will
Yes.
introduce you. And
Yes.
oh my God, is that great when you don't have to do anything? They're just like,
Yes.
here's a cool guy you should hang out with. And you're like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yep, warm leads, being brought in, larger social networks, social validation. Yeah, you've got everything going in your advantage that way. Absolutely. Yeah.
and it's fun. Like, listen, I am extroverted, but I enjoy being introvert. I fully do, and I get not wanting to socialize with people. That said, going out there and making friends and finding some commonality brings more to your life than you even know. Like, you're going to have
Mhm.
confidence, you're going to have friendship, you're going to have all these fringe benefits that are going to tie into making you more attractive as a person. Because, like, if you are there hanging out with guys and talking to them and joking around and having that group to support you and lift you up, it's going to expand your network, right? Which, hey, you hate your job, somebody might have a job
Right.
opening, and now all of
Yeah.
a sudden
Yeah.
you're doing a new career that you enjoy, right?
Hmm.
Which is going to
Hmm.
bring you confidence, which is going to bring you success, which is going to bring you all these other things that then translates over to a prospective person looking at you going,
Hmm.
I like that. I want more of
Hmm.
that in my life. So we can't focus on just the one, like, oh, I need to find a girl. It's like, go enhance
Right.
your life in all the other areas and the
Yeah.
other stuff will follow.
Yeah. Yeah. Make your romantic life part of a much larger life, a much more well-rounded, fulfilling life, and you'll paradoxically, by not focusing on just that, you'll actually have more of it because there's a
Mhm.
much bigger world to invite all of it into. Absolutely.
And I want to be clear, it's not that you're not worth it. Like, we sometimes think our value as men is only on what we can provide. I'm saying do this for you, to make you happier, to make you more fulfilled, to make you less angry at the world, because the world
Yeah.
is a hard place and we don't have support as men. Like,
Yeah.
we don't feel like we can ever talk to another man and say, Dallas, dude, I'm fucking struggling today,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And being genuine, but you actually can. I can tell you, every single guy out there wishes there was another guy who would say, I got you, bro. Vent to me. We
Absolutely.
got this,
Yeah. Yeah,
right?
we have monthly events that are open, to guys in general that come. They're free events, and that's exactly what men at those events experience. They come away from it lit up inside because it's all different ages, all different relationship statuses, and we start to see, wow, I am not the only one out there, and a lot of the stuff other guys are going through make me really grateful for what I actually have. And we always come back from those events charged up and on fire in a new way. And you're right, and because we tend to dwindle, we tend to kind of diminish as guys when we're not connecting well with other men. And that comes back to those social activities you were talking about when you're playing, cup in hand, kickball and all of that. I mean, yes, you're meeting the girls, but you're also meeting the dudes. You're also meeting guys. And one thing that I really point out to guys is that women are watching how we interact with other men. If two guys are comfortable with each other, if they're physical with each other, if they lift each other up, and they see each other laughing in each other's presence, that's a no pressure situation for a woman to assess a man's abilities socially, and also for her to develop a certain amount of anticipation and an almost envy for wanting to have that experience with that man. Men should absolutely be connecting with each other as part of their social circles. Absolutely.
And build each other up. It's way
Yep.
better.
Yep.
It's way better.
And now that we
Give
don't
me
have to
that.
compete with you on Tinder anymore, there's no reason for us to feel threatened by you. Thank God. So, okay. So tell us, all right, are you open to emails, questions, all that kind of
Sure.
thing? Okay.
Absolutely.
So why don't you go ahead and just tell all the guys here in the audience how they can get hold of you if they want to, how they can follow up, just, yeah, if they like what they heard.
Yeah, absolutely. So, full transparency, while I have every social media, if you Google my name, you can find me on all the platforms. I do not do them anymore. I hate them all because that was my entire world. The only one that I'm ever sort of on is LinkedIn. But if you really need to get a hold of me, Austin Iuliano at gmail.com is my personal email. Send me an email. I will do
That's
my
great.
best to respond. I get a ton of spam there too. But
Awesome.
yeah, I mean, here's the other thing. Come to one of Dallas's events. I would love to meet you in person and be like
Yeah.
actual human beings and talk like human beings.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun.
It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. Yeah, the stuff that comes out when we start actually exposing our personal lives is hilarious. Yeah, it's awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much, Austin. Really loved having you on. I love how you have really given us a behind the scenes look at how you can really look at your dating profile as something other than just a dating profile. That's amazing, and the results you got are staggering. That is really something to see. And I mean, I'm just going to say thank you on behalf of all the guys listening. Thank you for sharing with us your kryptonite, because you have found what so many men wish they could find, which is tons of attention on a dating app. That's just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will say
Thank you.
it does get exhausting too when you get on the other end and I'm just like, I open it up, I'm like, nah, I'm good.
I'm sure it does. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Austin. All right. Looking forward to seeing you at one of the events. Take care, man. All right. Bye.
Bye, Dallas.